break his jaw. I'll smash his head in.
Fantastic umbrella. Really?
way round to the inside, please. All come round, you seem a bit spread out. Come on, we don't fight. We're all friends here, come on. Make your way round to the front. Okay, stay there then. Okay, welcome everyone. Can the speakers for today come to the front? Thank you for all coming out in this horrible weather. But you've done well, you've been doing it for 2 years now. 2 years of genocide. 2 years of Israel dropping 200,000 tons of bombs. More than 835 mosques were completely destroyed in 2 years. 180 others damaged. 3 churches damaged. Half of all of the 60 cemeteries damaged. 14 completely destroyed. Over 67,000 people killed. Nearly 10,000 still missing or buried under the rubble. 170,000 injured. Many will need long-term rehabilitation. 460 Palestinians died of starvation. Forced starvation. Disgusting. 4,800 amputees had limbs amputated, and a fifth of them children. Dr. Ang Sui from Medical Aid for Palestinians paid tribute to the Palestinian martyrs and heroes of the Palestinian struggle, who without sacrifice there would be no Palestine. She paid tribute to the flotilla, but also paid tribute to the 10,000 Palestinian hostages being held in Israeli prisons and the hellhole detention centres. Many tortured to death. At least 75 Palestinians died while in Israeli detention over the past 2 years. And it was reported today that the bodies of Palestinian prisoners were being returned, showing severe signs of torture and disfigurement, making it difficult for their families to identify them. A harrowing testament to the brutality they endured before their deaths. Images have emerged of the dead bodies, complete with zip ties still there, bound hands so tightly behind their backs that the skin peeled off, and bandages tied so tightly around their eyes. Even if the prisoners would have lived, they would have likely to have lost their sight permanently. And the released Palestinian hostages have talked about being stripped, blindfolded, cuffed and beaten. Some were given electric shocks, menaced by dogs and denied access to medical care. Some say they witnessed the deaths of other detainees, and one said his head was dunked in chemicals and his back set on fire. Now we know that that is just some of the horrors that Palestinians have had to endure. That's the ones who've managed to stay alive over the last 2 years. And our first speaker today, okay. Can all the other speaker, there she is, okay. Can all the speakers come to the front, please? So we've also had statements in this week from those who were on the flotillas and the treatment that they had. 22-year-old Greta Thunberg was wrapped in an Israeli flag, hands zip tied behind her back and paraded like a trophy. They put the flag behind her, and every time it blew onto her, she was kicked, and they said, "Don't touch our flag." It was the psychological torture as well as the physical torture that many of those flotilla activists had to endure. And when their embassies come from around the world, they done little. they weren't very supportive. They were colluding with the Israeli regime by not seeing the mistreatment even though they were being told of it, not bringing in water even though they knew that the flotilla activists were being denied of it, which just shows how the world powers have complied with Israel. Sexual assault, sexual humiliation also took place. Greta was stripped twice and filmed by Israeli forces, and British journalist Sarah Wilkinson has alleged sexual assault on top of denial of water, food and sleep deprivation during her incarceration. And for standing up to a genocide and to break the siege, far from being heroes, getting a hero's welcome. They did when they landed in Istanbul, but when Sarah landed in Heathrow, she was arrested at that airport and faces 5 terror-related charges, including distributing a terrorist publication and inciting support of a prescribed organisation. Anyway, on that note, yesterday the Court of Appeal handed down its judgment in the case concerning the government's decision to prescribe Palestine action under the Terrorism Act, and the court dismissed the Home Secretary's appeal, confirming the challenge to the prescription can proceed. That is good news. A judicial review is in the High Court from the 25th to the 27th of November to test whether the government's decision to prescribe Palestine action as a terrorist organisation is lawful, and whether the Home Secretary failed to consider relevant factors and breach their own policy. So thank you to everyone who is in this audience today and everyone else who stood and fought against the genocide and supported Palestine action and put their own liberty at stake. Okay, our first speaker today is Suwana. We know that a ceasefire was announced on the 9th of October. However, Palestinians are still being killed. And Suwana is going to tell us a little bit more about that. So Suwana, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Karen, and hello everyone. I'm going to speak after so long today, so if I go blank, bear with me. Not because I didn't have motivation to speak, but I felt like there was nothing left to say, and every time I try to write something, new atrocities unfold before I finish what I was writing previously. If I were to write what I'm speaking today, it would already be old by tomorrow. 2 years of watching children blown apart, 2 years of watching children carrying the limbs of their siblings on their back, 2 years of watching mothers giving birth without anesthesia, fathers working empty stomach, 2 years of dehumanization of brown people, but yet here we are terrorists. In these 2 years, what we became terrorists because all we did, we opposed genocide. They call us terrorists. They call us that so much that the only way for a white person to become one is to support us. You have seen that DOJ, haven't you? This is the dehumanizing of brown people, especially brown men, that we don't even talk about men. We don't even talk about them anymore, because the least this world can do is to pretend to care for women and children. But they don't, really don't. Tell me, is it normal for a person to add "I'm still alive" after their name? Still, you have heard Bissam saying it. For 2 years now, "Hi everyone, I'm Bissam from Gaza and I'm still alive." But they don't care. They don't care because we are brown. They don't care about brown life. All they care is hostages, so let's talk about hostages. Do you know that the Zionist entity holds more hostages and political prisoners than the world will ever care to name? More than they ever showed for Israeli hostages, elderly women with Alzheimer, medical worker and children, among 6,000 held, and these are just hostages. If you talk about political prisoners, that more than that. So in total, more than 12,000. And that's within like just 2 years. And this is not a rumor, I'm not making it up. This is from the Zionist entity's own record. But no, we are the terrorists, because the world expect Palestinians to sit like well-behaved victim and not resist, because if they resist, they will be terrorists. Brown people can't defend themselves, can they? Because if we do what we are terrorists. Let's talk about the little girl who was born from a womb of killed mother. Let me repeat, from a womb of a killed mother. How will you stop her from resisting? What are you going to do? What are you going to say to her? Well, the only thing she inherited was resistance. What do you expect her to love those who killed her mother? Or to resist against this occupation and the genocide? But no, we are the terrorists. Because their life doesn't matter and their death is not good fit for the news headlines. But if you are white, you can get away with it. No outrage, no headlines, no breaking news. How many of us even know about Muhammad al-Qasim, a 20-year-old student from Saudi Arabia stabbed to death in August in Cambridge? He came to study for a few weeks. Where was the outrage? Where was the protest? Where were the riots? The riots! Where was the justice? The headlines, the BBC. But it's okay because the criminal was white. But no, racism is not a thing. It's a lie. Racism is a lie. Racism doesn't belong to England, does it? We're all just making it up. More than 100,000 people killed, but the number they tell you is just like 60,000 or 50,000. They will never tell you the true number because it's more than they can ever care or name. And we don't even know how many lie beneath the rubble. 1 million displaced returning not to homes but to rings. And now suddenly, these so-called leaders call themselves peacemakers for what? Peacemakers for what? To fix the mess they made? Do they even know right after the day of ceasefire, 11 Palestinians were killed with following more violations of this so-called ceasefire? Every one of them was somebody to somebody. A soul that carried love, laughter and dreams, and still the killing continues. Where are the headlines? Where are the even journalists who were killed for telling the truth? Where are the BBC? Where were the BBC when Shireen Abu Akhle, Anas al-Sharif, Ismail al-Ghul, Ayman al-Jadi, Maryam Abu Daqqa, Hamza al-Jadu, Muhammad Qarera, Hassan Hamad, Hassan Shabat, Saleh? They kept saying the truth and they kept being killed and they still kills. They still kills. But no, we are the terrorists. And they still kill, they still celebrate this, they still celebrate the killing of children, journalists. I'm not talking about the IOF, I'm talking about the so-called civilians in occupied Palestine. They celebrate this killing. But no, they are not the terrorists. We are the terrorists. And yes, we honor the courage of those who stand firm because we know death is not the end. We know that martyrdom is the best way to die. And it is a proof of people who will not go down to operation, but that doesn't mean that we don't want our people to live. That doesn't mean that we want our people to die. That doesn't mean we all our people to get martyred. We want them to live, we want them to dream, we want them to grow old. Yeah, we are branded as terrorists for speaking the truth, for mourning aloud. They tell the world that opposing genocide is a form of hate. But standing against murder is not hatred, it is humanity. True humanity stands for every life, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, faith, no faith, or any race. You know how impactful these protests are? You know how impactful your presence are? You know how they try to intimidate us, to stop us, to crack down on our chants, mass arrests, silence voices. You've seen more than 500 people arrested at DOJ and then 30 people were arrested at Tower Bridge for opposing genocide with no warnings given, no sanctions given. The DOJ and the youth demand people. What they're trying to do, they're trying to intimidate us, to stop us, while all we're doing is opposing the genocide. Do people think we enjoy this? No, it's time to intensify our commitment. We can't be doing the same thing we were doing 2 years ago. I won't add anything more. I would like to invite you all to come to our event while we write to our political prisoners at 5 p.m. Kimos. Bring your voices, we'll bring the pen and papers. Because after our mothers who never woke, and the fathers whose name are lost, and the children buried beneath silence, and they still dare to look at us and say that we are the terrorists. So if loving life, demanding justice, refusing to be silent, if that makes us crime, then maybe the world needs to redefine the word. We will continue to speak, we will continue to gather, and we will continue to love. Thank you.
Thank you, Suhana. Before we bring our next speaker, also in the news this week, we've seen the killing of much-loved Palestinian journalist Salah al-Jafarawi, killed by Israel targeted attack. And Haifa, who needs no introduction, he is shouting at us, loud, getting us all on board with the chanting every week. Big hand to Haifa, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. We gather today to honour a voice that can no longer speak, but whose voice will always be heard. He was targeted and shot 7 times by an Israeli-backed gang. Your legacy will live on, Salah, a paradise of bliss, O hero. You did more than enough. You fulfilled the trust and conveyed the message. You were a lion in every field, showing the world what it must see. Salah was murdered for speaking the truth. Journalists who speak the truth are not safe, and they never have been. In spite of a declared ceasefire, Palestinians who dare to resist the illegal occupation continue to be targeted. This is not random, this is deliberate. However, war criminals have been allowed to run wild with impunity for too long. For 2 years, Salah starved with his people and still reported bloody children, destroyed homes, endless grief. He ran towards the airstrikes, he ran towards the blood. His name means virtuous and righteous, and what a virtuous and righteous man the world has lost. He woke millions up to the ugliness of ethnic cleansing and the greed that drives it. He died telling the truth. Too many hypocritical journalists live to tell lies. Salah will not die in vain. More glory to the martyrs as their legacy will live. We honour Salah and the 200 plus journalists who have given their lives documenting this genocide. We honour their courage, and we will not stop until due justice is granted and Palestine is free. And now Salah's younger brother is donned his press jacket, a sacred symbol that shows that the fight continues. Salah was the voice of the people and the image of their pain, and now he's a timeless icon of Palestine. His father buried him, and hours later he learned his other son, once held in an Israeli prison, was coming home. A brother that could not even attend his brother's funeral. These are the human costs of occupation. Now, in Salah's own words, his final will, which he wanted releasing after he gets buried. In the name of God, the most merciful, the most compassionate, I am Salah, and this is my will. If you hear these words, the enemy has silenced my voice, but they could never take my courage. O God, I give every bit of strength to be a voice of the steadfast people. I dreamed that Gaza would be a light for the world. I faced pain and loss, but I never stopped speaking the truth. I call God as my witness against those who stayed silent, those who complicit, and those whose hearts felt no mercy for the suffering of our women and children, and all who did nothing to stop the massacre that has ravaged my people for more than 2 years. I ask you, Gaza, the crown of the Muslim world, the pulse of every free heart, take care of its people and its children. Do not be broken. Be the bridges of freedom until victory rises again over our stolen land. I leave this with you, my family. To my patient and strong mother, strong even in her illness, your prayers were my shield and my light. Forgive me for leaving you alone in your loneliness. To my father, my solid rock, you never stopped praying for me, and every prayer you made me carry through. To Sarah, my niece, whom I promised would become a doctor one day, and who saw me as a father figure, I entrust your future to God. To Ali, my beloved little brother, my companion, the purest of hearts, never forget that I loved you deeply. To my prisoned brother, tell him that when he is free, I was proud of him always, and I ask his forgiveness for any shortcomings on my part. And if I die firm upon my principles, content with God's decree, believing in his promise, and certain what awaits with him, God is better and everlasting. O God, accept me among the martyrs, forgive me for my past and future sins, and make my blood a light to guide my people towards freedom. And before I go, a word from the heart. Many have falsely accused me of stealing funds intended for the hospital, and I swear by God the money was intended for trustworthy hands, and the Palestinian Ministry of Health and Kuwaiti Association. I have no benefit in it. And I forgive everyone who wronged me and misunderstood me or spoke falsely about me, and I ask God to forgive them, and I just ask Him to have mercy on me. My heart is clear, my intention is pure, and for His sake alone, forgive me if I ever fell short. And I pray of my forgiveness and acceptance. Do not forget Gaza and the resistance, and do not forget me in your sincere prayers. And there will be more Salahs, more Anas, more Yahyas, more Muhammads, more Maryams, more Fatimas, more Hamza, more Ahmeds, and many, many more. They can kill the person, but they never kill the mark they leave behind. So, we remember, we speak, we march, we demand accountability, and we demand protection for journalists, for families, and for Palestine. We will not be silent. Glory to the martyrs and free Palestine.
Thanks, Haifa. And without further ado, I'll bring our next speaker, Mike Hogan, who's going to talk to us and update us about a meeting that was held in the Quaker Meeting House with the unions about Merseyside Pension Fund. Big hand for Mike, please.
Thank you. Before I do that, I just want to speak not as a trade unionist, not as a communist, but as a football supporter. Because the first match that Liverpool played this season, a supporter of Liverpool, quite rightly, was excluded from the ground for racism. And yet, the entire establishment of this country think that fans of Maccabi Tel Aviv, who have the racist, vile chants of death to Arabs, should be allowed into Birmingham and into Aston Villa. In my opinion, Israel should not be playing football and should not be engaged in sport at all. If you can exclude Russia, why can't they exclude Israel? And Aston Villa, as a football club, can solve the problem right now. Refuse to play the team of a genocide state. Refuse to play them. As Karen said, I want to talk about a meeting that we held the other day and some of the things that struck me. Because during the last 2 years, you get to my age, which is 65, and you think nothing can shock you. And then you see what's happening to the Palestinian people, and you're shocked and upset pretty much every single day, certainly every week, by what is happening. But the thing that shocked me at that meeting was to do some of it dry statistics and about the rest of it. As those of you will know, Merseyside Pension Fund invests in the arms industry, something like £85 million into the arms industry. It's less than 1% of the fund itself. So it withdrew that with investments. It wouldn't affect anybody's pension. It wouldn't affect them in the slightest if they changed it to other investments. But they invest 85 million. Last year, they invested $500,000 in 4 Israeli banks. 4 Israeli banks that are connected to the settlements on the West Bank, to the oppression of the Palestinian people. And this is the point, that even with a ceasefire, the oppression continues. The oppression will always continue until Israel is overthrown. They invested £500,000 into 4 Israeli banks. Well, they no longer invest £500,000 into 4 Israeli banks. And before anybody is pleased about that, they now invest £3 million into those 4 Israeli banks. And the nice politicians of Liverpool and of Merseyside, and in those politicians I include the Conservatives, the Liberals, and disgracefully the Labour Party, have direct connections with the fascist, and I'm very careful about using this word, the fascist minister Ben-Gvir, the leader of Jewish power in Israel, who lives on a settlement that is financed by 3 of these particular banks. So there's a direct connection between politicians that are elected in Liverpool and those politicians in Israel. This is and that connection has increased, and we've had a campaign going forward lobbying the Pensions Committee in Wirral. Comrades have read, have sent letters and communications into them. At the meeting we heard from Karen, a very detailed letter detailing all of everything that these investments are involved in terms of backing up the genocide and also supporting the oppression of the Palestinian people. And these politicians are not listening to us. They don't listen to morality, they don't listen to appeals and information. Most of that information gathered quite expertly by Greg Dropkin. They don't listen to the details there, they don't listen to the morality of the case. What they have to do is listen to our power, and they have to listen to a mass movement that we need to build in order to force them into withdrawing this funding from the arms industry and from the occupation. This is the only way that we can see a change happening, because we've seen that change happening. We compare that across the world in terms of the ceasefire. Why did Trump decide that he had to order Netanyahu to go on ceasefire? He didn't do it because of the moral case of the Palestinians. We exposed that by the fact that he said in there he gave the weapons to Netanyahu, and Netanyahu used them wisely. Used them wisely on the men, women and children of Gaza. That is the real opinion of Trump. They don't believe in a moral case for Palestine. It's not why they had the ceasefire. They had a ceasefire because the Israelis bombed Qatar and they affected the business interests of the United States in the Middle East. They were frightened of China moving in. They were frightened of his own movement, the MAGA movement, where increasingly supporters of Donald Trump are saying, why are we supporting Israel? Why are we supporting Israel? A country with a free health service. And the contradiction is that Donald Trump and his government are supporting a free health service in Israel when they're trying to destroy the health service in this country, trying to bully the government into destroying the health service in this country. And the third and most important thing was the movements of the Italian working class, the movements of young people across Europe, which put the fear of God into the ruling class, where they said they had to act to stop Israel and stop this going further, because the working class were realising the power that they have, and they would use that power against that ruling class. And Donald Trump came out with the statements after the ceasefire, oh, now everybody will like Israel again. I don't know what planet Donald lives on, but it's certainly not the planet reality. It's certainly not the planet where millions and billions of people have been on the streets to support Palestine, where Palestine had the mass support of the working class and the people around the world. And we need to harness that power, and we need to use that power as well. So we need a mass movement, and I urge everybody to get involved in the movement to stop the politicians in this city supporting apartheid Israel, supporting the genocide, supporting the oppression on the West Bank. But I'd also urge everybody to support a mass movement of the working class in order to overthrow the people who really stand, the hypocrites like David Lammy, who says they're sanctioning Ben-Gvir, and the politicians from his own party are giving him money. This is the hypocrisy that we have in our ruling class, that we need to overthrow them, overthrow the warmongers, and support the people of Palestine by finishing off the ruling class that stand behind the evil state of Israel.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you for that. And just on the Maccabee match, what you said, that yes, the players should have refused to play them. It was the Birmingham Safety Advisory Group and the police who didn't want it to go ahead. But of course Starmer's got involved, hasn't he? He said it's the wrong decision and we won't tolerate anti-Semitism on our streets. Again, the standard response to anyone who challenges genocide. It's just disgusting. He's now said the government is in contact with Villa, UFA and the local authorities for a local resolution to this. Just disgusting. You speak out and you get called anti-Semitic. Right, yeah, put pressure on him. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention before, the bucket's going round, but Diana's, you've probably seen it anyway, but you don't have to put in, but if you've got any spare coppers there, throw her in the bucket. Our final speaker is a student. Her name is Blossom, so big hand please to Blossom.
Thanks. It's been over 2 years since the genocide started, with countless ceasefire rumours, agreements, breaches and dissolvements. In the hours leading up to the last week's ceasefire, just about every last building still standing was targeted. These buildings represented hope. They represented how life could be, but now they are just another burden. Just days after the ceasefire was agreed, journalist Salah Ali-Afari, 28 years old, was shot dead. He covered the genocide for 735 days. He was announcing peace. He was killed for believing in it. Now over a week on from the ceasefire, we have watched as Palestinian hostages are released, returning to their loved ones unrecognisable. One man who was in prison for over a year with no communication to anyone, not even his lawyer, lost 30 kg. His crime? Simply posting on Facebook. Mahmoud Abu Ful, imprisoned for 8 months, brutally tortured with metal rods and electric shocks so severe he lost his vision. Sharing his story, he said he wished he had vision in just one of his eyes so he could see his family again. Shadi Abu Sido, a photojournalist, whilst imprisoned, was told repeatedly his family were dead, a form of psychological torture that crosses all lines of cruelty. But we are here, and the ceasefire still stands as we speak, and it's important for us to acknowledge all that it has brought, with families reuniting, children's smiles decorating the streets, and people finally taking their first steps towards home. For all those we have lost, and for all those who have survived, we are living with cautious hope. We must keep going. We must keep using our voices, keep marching, keep boycotting, keep pressuring our universities, our employers, and our government to remember those we have lost and those who have survived. As Mahmoud Darwish once said, we who are capable of remembrance are capable of liberation. Thank you.
Thank you, Blossom. So while that ceasefire remains fragile, I mean, let's face it, who trusts Israel? And who jump at any chance to continue their Zionist plans, while support and legitimacy of the Palestinian struggle for liberation has never been higher. We shouldn't be under any illusions that Israel remains highly dangerous and desperate. Israel's genocidal agenda remains active, and thousands remain wounded or disabled. Infrastructure lies in ruins. Humanitarian needs are urgent. Israel is a pariah state, and we will never stop fighting against the genocidal Zionist regime. We need to boycott, boycott, and boycott more. We need to see that state fall. And while I'm on that, just a reminder that Home and Bargain, the beloved Liverpool store, all the wipes that it supplies are made in Israel. We're not saying boycott Home and Bargain shop because most shops sell Israeli goods, but we're saying do not buy any Israeli wipes, baby wipes, face wipe, furniture wipes, they are all made in Israel. We really need to push the boycott much further now. I've just got a few announcements before we go. Alma's going to give some leaflets out just about what you shouldn't be buying from Home and Bargain. So this week, as usual, 1:30 till 2:30, boycott Barclays leaflet, and down there on Lord Street. Tuesday, billboarding is continuing, and it's going to be on Princess Road, Parliament Street, Catherine Street. Oh, okay, it's changed from an hour ago. It's going to be 4 o'clock Edge Lane. 4 o'clock Edge Lane. On Tuesday, okay? Edge Lane by the Marks and Spencers. Wednesday, it's going to be 12 noon on Smithdown Road, Dulwich Road. And there's a fundraising event coming up, Gaza Nights 4, on the 28th of November at St Michael's Church in Egbert. So get ready to get your tickets for that one. But we've still got a bit of time for that, but we will tell you more about how to get your tickets. But always a great night. So before I go, one last thing. Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Thank you everyone, thanks for coming out in the rain, and thanks for those who stuck around in the rain. Thank you. you.
Hello, look, this is it is a song that I wrote about 10 years ago, but I'm going to say it as a poem. It's called, I'm going to say it slow, so you don't think it's called Love is Real, not is real. It says, we're not your worthless animals. How dare you get off on treating us like this? The time has come to make it a noise. We're going to shout it in the streets. We're going to tell it like it is. People, open up your eyes, because they don't give a shit about you or me. All I'm seeing is an unjust world, because they don't know about love. They say we've got to pay them dues and all those male chicken sucking hordes. Behind the governments, they run the banks, the laws to the political core, from the movie makers to the big pop stars. We know who you are. All I'm saying is that love is real and not the state that they state. It's not the state that they state. The fake, we're not your stepping stones is what I'm saying. We're not your substitutes to be used and abused. The fake House of David is a den of lies. It steals from the people to support their lives. They're making all their money for their worthless guys, and it's not good enough. All I'm saying is there's got to be a better way so the children can live right. The children can be bright. The news are the views of those worthless guys who steal the money to support their lives. They're making all the money for the worthless guys, and it's not good enough. Thank you.
Very pretty.
Thank you very much.
How are you? Nice to meet you.